Hello, welcome to the February 2021 Stanion and Northants Astronomy Club Skyguide. As we continue in the pandemic lockdown, I'll carry on doing the Skyguides in this way, until we can get to a point where we can resume activities down at the club. So I will crack on with this Skyguide. I'm going to start off by mentioning Venus, Jupiter and Saturn. On the mornings of the 6th of February and the 11th of February, we're going to have quite a challenging conjunction between some planets going on. So the first one is the 6th of February, as mentioned, and it will be between Venus and Saturn. Now, Jupiter and Saturn have been even objects for a long time now, and last month they were lost in the visibility into the glare of the sun, and they're now emerging and becoming morning objects, so they'll be rising before sunrise. Now on the 6th of Feb, we can see Saturn very close to the planet Venus in the morning sky, so this will be in like the south-southeast before sunrise. Now it's not that far before sunrise that you can see this pair, so it's quite a challenging spot. They're going to be low to the horizon, so you're going to need a good low down view, and you're also going to have to be careful where you're pointing your telescopes, because the sun's not that far behind it really. So yeah, I think naked eye visibility will be very low, but if you can get a telescope on there, you should be able to squeeze them both into a field of view if you've got a wide field of view. I think my telescope, if I've got like a 25mm eyepiece on there, they should both be able to fit inside that field of view. So that's the 6th of February, we've got Saturn and Venus, and then on the 11th of February, Venus has moved over to the east a little bit and will be very close to Jupiter. So same again as with Saturn and Venus, Venus and Jupiter will be visible in the same field of view of your telescope. Yeah, so again, just be careful where you're pointing them if you're going to take on this challenge in the early hours. I think you can see Venus during the daytime with a telescope, but I'm not sure on the contrast you'll get if you're trying to see the other planets. I think Jupiter will be a bit brighter than Saturn, but using Venus you might be able to get a bit of a pointer to the fainter planets, if that's what you're going to choose to do. But we'll need some clear, crisp skies. Okay, so moving on, Saturn and Jupiter again are joining another planet in the early hours. But this time will be at the end of the month, and they will be joining Mercury as it too emerges from the sun's glare towards month end. So in the south-southeast again before sunrise. This is about 6:30 in the morning, so the sun is not far from rising itself, so maybe another challenging spot. But you should see Jupiter and Saturn separated by some distance, and in the middle, nestled there, is Mercury. Now the days preceding and after this, Mercury will be in a different position, maybe here and over here, because it moves relatively fast in our sky. Our point of view shows it moving apparently faster than the other planets. So yeah, so this one on the 27th, around about 6:30, you should be able to see Mercury in between Saturn and Jupiter. Moving on to Mars, still nice and high. As darkness falls in the evening, Mars is very high and prominent. With its nice red hue, plainly visible. It is fading over the month, so it starts off as mag 0.4, then fades to 0.9 by the end of the month. And I put here also at the end of the month, this is the 28th of February. It is approaching the Pleiades, the M45 star cluster, as the month progresses. I'm not sure if you can see it on this shot here. The Pleiades is around here, and here's Mars. And as the month progresses, Mars will get progressively closer, and it passes just under the Pleiades by the month end. I think going into March it gets a little bit closer again, but here's the close-up screenshot of that on the 28th. So yeah, it makes a nice pair. You've got the lovely red planet and joined by this naked eye visible bright star cluster too. So moving on to Uranus, not far away from where Mars is sitting as well, in the southwest sky. As darkness falls, you should be able to make out Uranus, and as always it's best to make yourself a little sky chart with some little stars to point the way towards this planet, which is quite dim. It's at mag plus 5.8, so it's just on the cusp of naked eye visibility, but from towns you will need binoculars or a telescope to see it. And this screenshot here on the right I set to the 17th of February because it is joined by a crescent moon as well, so make a good little piece of sky to scan around with a pair of binoculars. You have Mars, you have Uranus and the moon, all in the same area of sky. So moving on now to some deep sky stuff. Must mention, so I'll go back to the planets a second. Neptune, we've lost that now, I think. That is setting as darkness falls, so we've got no chance of making out Neptune. So moving on to deep sky objects, I'm going to mention galaxies M81, M82. Always been a favourite pair of galaxies of mine, and a lot of people do like to observe these because they are they're a relatively bright pair of galaxies in the northern sky, so they are circumpolar, so they should be visible just about all year round. This time of year, as darkness falls in the evening, they are sort of on the rise and quite high up in the sky, so they're a nice object to see visually and also to take images of. And with my manual mount, when I first started out, I had a little trick that I taught myself how to find these galaxies quite easily using Ursa Major. So if you haven't got a go-to telescope, this is a little trick that I used. I used the two stars on the end of the plough. You can see these two stars here, and all I did was use those two stars to point me to a brighter star just above them. The star makes a triangle with these two stars, and then from there I would move my telescope on declination only, and I would move northwards until I could see these in my finder scope. See these two stars up here, and then all it took then was a little nudge on the RA and the right ascension axis, and the two faint smudges would become visible in the eyepiece. It's quite an easy little star hop there. Okay, and also I have a little story about M82 as well, which I'm sure if anyone knows me, I've already told you this, but I'm going to go over it again, so I'm never going to do anything like it ever again probably. Yeah, in February 2014 I was imaging these galaxies, and one of them in particular, M82, I was very new to astrophotography, and I was just inspecting my image, and I did notice I thought, oh, there's a nice little foreground star here in galaxy M82, but little did I know it was actually a supernova, and this supernova is named SN 2014J. So it was there for a couple of weeks, and I think if I'd known what I was looking at, I could have probably reported this to the relevant peoples, and could have got the discovery of it. But this was actually a pre-discovery image, because it was discovered 2 days later. It was reported by a lecturer and some students at University College in London who were looking for a gap in the cloud to see some deep sky objects, and they saw M82, and see the astronomer in charge, he recognised this as an object that is not normally visible in M82, and so they reported it and it was discovered. So yeah, I was very happy. I actually had this as a screensaver on my phone as I was reading an article about the supernova, and I thought, hang on, I think I've imaged this already. And I had, so yeah, not likely to happen to me ever again. As you can see, it's still my favourite image to this day, and I've got it as a screensaver on my phone still. I think I've gone through about 3 or 4 phones since then, and yeah, I'm still using it as the front page for my phone. So there we have it. And moving on now, I mentioned the Pleiades earlier, so that's M45 star cluster. I'm just going to show you where this is. Nice easy cluster, you can see it with the naked eye very easily. It's in the constellation of Taurus, but the way I normally see it is in the sky. I always look at the constellation of Perseus, and you can see this arc of stars that comes around here, and I usually follow this round, and you can see it's on the end of that arc of stars there. Also you can use the bright star Aldebaran of Taurus. You can make out the V shape of the bull, and then situated just above that you'll see a patch of sort of, if you use a bit of averted vision, it almost looks like a fuzzy little bit of sky, where that bright group of stars is. Yeah, and this is an image of M45 that I took a few years ago. As you can see, there's quite a bit of nebulosity associated with this star cluster. If you're taking a deep sky image of it, and you're able to resolve some of that nebulosity. So the stars are very bright, but it does look pretty if you are able to to resolve this nebulosity. So the International Space Station, I think there's only a couple of passes in the evening. I think they're very low over the next couple of days, and then it disappears from our view, and then we won't see it again until the early mornings of from the 20th of February. And I think this is the best one of the bunch that I've picked out. The highest pass is on February the 28th. It's around about, I think that's 10 past 6 ish. But if you get heavensabove.com or the ISS detector app, you can go on there and you can check out one of the best times for your location that you can see the ISS. And moving on now, there's a couple of images of the space station which I've took. Just some images stacked in star stacks as the space station passes over and forms a trail on my exposures. And Paul Smith, a member of Stanion Astronomy Club, has submitted a few images for us to have a look at as well. It's got M42 here. Nice bright object situated in the constellation of Orion. Quite an easy object and to see. You can just about make it out with a naked eye. Definitely binoculars. Telescope looks fantastic, and the images, you get all these nice bright colours coming out, and this core is really bright, and you can see the all this gas and dust stretching out all over this nebula. And he's also took an image of M37, which is in the constellation of Auriga, and it's called the Salt and Pepper Cluster, probably due to the massive contrasting colours in all the stars situated in this lovely star cluster here. And his final image is of the Beehive cluster, M44, which I believe is in the constellation of Cancer. Yeah, and I'll just run through the equipment that is used. He sent me some information. So he has himself an observatory. It's a slide-off roof panel observatory, and he's permanently housed an Orion RC200 in there, and he attaches a Canon 700D camera. He guides it with a guide scope and a guide camera. He uses dew heaters, and then he uses PhD2 to guide the camera. It's got APT for doing the captures, and then his processing uses Sequator and Affinity Photo as well. So, you know, quite a lot of software and equipment being used to take these lovely images. Yeah, and also Paul has mentioned he's going to be going through the Deep Sky tour, which is in the Sky at Night mag for February, and I was wondering if anyone else would be interested in, you know, trying to take images of a lot of these deep sky objects which I've listed here throughout February, and just be interested to see what we could all get images of throughout the month if we're lucky enough to get clear skies, because I don't think many of us did, you know, during January. So hopefully February will fare better for us astronomers, and we can get out and do some observing, and you know, maybe take some images of these things. The one that sticks out for me, I was hoping to get a shot of this at some point, is the Flaming Star Nebula, and that's due to the hydrogen alpha filter that I've started using on my modded camera, and this was one of the ones that caught my eye, but I didn't get an opportunity to image it yet. So if I do in February, I'll try and take an image of this, and hopefully be showing it in next month's Skyguide. So yeah, that's it for now. Clear skies to you all. Oh, one more thing, later on this month, the Mars Perseverance rover will be landing on Mars on the 18th of February this month. So yeah, it will be approaching the planet and then entering its 7 minutes of terror as it makes its way through the atmosphere, and will be I think lowered, you know, by a sky crane. First of all, it will come down, it's slowed by a parachute as much as possible, and then this sky crane will be lowering it to the surface safely. So hopefully that all goes well, and there will be you know, the biggest, most sophisticated rover ever to have landed on Mars, continuing the exploration of the red planet. So, you know, it's be pretty cool thing to see as you're in your back garden looking up at Mars, and just to think that there's a new probe landing there, and is hopefully going to make some more discoveries in the future. So I look forward to hearing more from that, and I hope you all have clear skies. If you have any images or, you know, any observing notes or anything like that, just send them over to me, and I can include them in next month's Skyguide. So thank you very much. Clear skies to you all, and see you next month. Bye.